What's going on, peoples? This is Andrew Watkins, Associate Pastor at Emmaus Baptist Church, and I'm here with some special guests who are going to be rocking out with us for our town hall discussion tonight. The topic being sports and racism, specifically how sports in Thomasville can dismantle racism. Uh, for those who may not know, that's a part of our broadcast. Thomasville athletics is a huge piece of the lives of people in this city. And the folks that I have on the panel play a significant role in the developing the prominence and perpetuating the prominence of Thomasville athletics. So I thought it was befitting to reach out to some of the greats. I'm sitting around greatness right now, virtually, and I gotta say I'm appreciative. I'm honored. I'm gonna give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, and then we're gonna jump into some really important conversations surrounding the social injustice that we've seen in our country and how the arena of sports can help to address some of these challenges. So, um, Kendra, start us out. Tell us who you are, when you graduated, and what you played.
All right, I am Kendra Rutledge, women or girls basketball circa 2004, 2004, 2004, three-time state champion. Don't forget that part.
The dynasty, the dynasty.
Don't forget that part.
All right.
Nick Means, class of 1999, say the best for last, party
Mm-hmm.
like it's 1999. Um, three-sport athlete, football, basketball, and baseball. Currently the assistant vice president, training and development officer for F&M Bank in Salisbury, North Carolina.
Dope, dope. So, appreciate y'all being willing to join us tonight on our town hall. We had our first installment last week. It just was a combination of community leaders and activists, and we thought that it would be important to keep the conversation going. And so tonight we're going to stay in the vein of addressing the racial injustice that we've seen. And then the first question that I want to start out with is a part of the reason why we're here, which is the death of several individuals over the last couple of months. So obviously we had the recent murder of George Floyd by a veteran police officer in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He was preceded by the death of Breonna Taylor, a young lady from Louisville, Kentucky, who was murdered in her home as a result of a botched police raid. And then shortly before that, Ahmaud Arbery was murdered in Brunswick, Georgia, by vigilantes, some community members who felt his presence in their neighborhood was a problem. So they attempted to corral him on the street and kill him, shotgun. Not to mention all of the deaths, particularly Black deaths,
Mhm.
that have stemmed from COVID-19, because obviously there's a disparate amount of Black people who have died from complications of the virus. I believe up in Milwaukee, at one point it was 80% Black people who had died from the virus. And so these are startling numbers, and the country has been up in arms over the last couple of weeks. Protests, massive sweeping changes that we've seen in police reform in certain areas. So I want to just hear y'all's just kind of reflections. What when you initially heard about let's just focus on George Floyd. When you initially heard about what happened with George Floyd, what was your emotional response in that moment?
So for me, I think it was and this may sound very insensitive, but it was one of those here we go again situations, but it was also that ain't my fight. You know what I'm saying? And it took because I feel like my fight is elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? And so like it took me to actually say, well, I mean, probably, and nothing's gonna come from it anyway, but another posted video of another black man being murdered, because people don't like to use that term, but that's what it is,
Right.
murdered at the hands of police officers, specifically white police officers. And so for me, I didn't have an immediate angered reaction until I saw the video. And so the video made it way different. The video made it feel more like an intentional crime. It made it feel like more of a, like this is my goal, this is what I do. And then you hear more about this man and you hear more about the things he does, and you're just like, this isn't uncommon to him. And so for me, it took the outcry of other people and realizing that now the nation is kind of involved with it for me to kind of say, this is my fight too. You know what I'm saying? And so because I think that because we're in separate lanes of how our revolution is happening, we don't like to, mine is in education with brown and black children. You know what I'm saying? So it's a different revolution. However, it stems from the same thing. And it falls into all those categories, whether it be sports, education, just being a black man on the streets, or, even a black female in the workplace. And so that Sandra Bland incident, people they don't really overlook it, but she wasn't arrested. And so people don't say, oh, she was murdered by cops. Because, it's most time when you see it's being an arrest or they resisted arrest. And so that's the aftermath of it. She was asleep. And it was still that same, well, it just doesn't matter kind of situation. So I would say for me, it took me some time to kind of put the rubber to the road, so to speak, because I was kind of, just in that numbing mindset that we've all been in for so long, that, that turn the other cheek, that look the other way, that you have to know how to address white people kind of situation. So that was my take or my initial reaction.
Yeah, that's good. Nick, what about you?
Man, my initial reaction was felt like I've been punched in the stomach. I don't know if you've ever had the wind knocked out of you, but it is one of the most helpless feelings in the world. You know what you need to do, but you can't do it, and that's catch your breath. So with me having that feeling, it made me understand or be able to empathize with how this young man was feeling. Having the consciousness to know I need to breathe, but not physically being able to do that. So it infuriated me. I am one of 130 plus employees, have been for the last 18 years. And other than 3 months of that 18 years, I've been the only black male. So I'm always an X surrounded by O's. And out of all of the situations that have transpired where people that look like us being murdered by, law enforcement, there's always been a way out, always been a way out. Well, they shouldn't have resisted. They shouldn't have run. They shouldn't have talked back to the police. They should have just complied. This one was different. And I think that's why you're seeing the outrage that you're seeing, because of the simple fact this man was on his stomach. handcuffs on, one cop holding down his legs, another cop holding down his torso. You can't do anything. You can't get up without your legs. You can't get up without your torso. So the guy that just sat there with his knee on the back of this man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds had no regard for that man's life. He didn't even need to be there. He didn't even need to be there. He didn't have to be there in order to secure the assailant or whatever you want to call, Mr. Floyd at the time. So the total disregard on his face, just it kind of broke my spirit a little bit. And if it had not been for some of my white allies, some of my white friends who've reached out to me, who I've seen posting stuff on social media, who in the past have never said anything, to see them finally say, you know what, I see what you've been talking about. Not only was that man's life taken, but the heart and spirit of America was broken in that very moment. And I think it began the healing process and the reconciliation process of America. And we're finally seeing good things happen. We're finally seeing those racists, those blatant racists lose their jobs. We're finally seeing those blatant racists be arrested. We're finally seeing policies and procedures, change because of that, because of George's death. And when ignorant people like, and I'm not even gonna call her name because she ain't even worth it. I'm just gonna say CO. Hopefully y'all out there know who I'm referring to. She don't even get, I can't even say her name. Ignorant people like her who say, we martyr and we worship the lower and the least of us. I'm like, isn't this a Christian nation? So, I mean, aren't you supposed to, doesn't the word say, how you treat the least of mine, what you're doing to the least of mine, you're doing to me? So for this to be a Christian nation, and I tell people a lot, like, everybody want to be a Christian, but nobody want to be like Christ. Nobody wants to serve. Everybody want to be God. They want to be the one that's judging. They want to be the judge and the jury, but nobody wants to be forgiven. Nobody wants to be understanding. Nobody wants to be empathetic. And I'm finally seeing white America become empathetic. White America who's not involved in a romantic relationship with Black America. White America who doesn't have a Black child. I'm finally seeing real live white people be empathetic to our life. And we still have a long way to go, but I see a light at the end of the tunnel, and we just got to keep the pressure on. We got to find a way to continue to allow for our voice to be heard.
Yeah, there was a look of defiance on, I think his last name is Siobhan, the officer that killed George Floyd. There's a look of defiance on his face.
That's a nice way to put it. You know what I'm saying? And I know our audience, so that's another way that you can put it. He really didn't care.
Right.
Not at all, man. Like another day in the park,
Man, zero given, zero.
Zero. I'm curious though, because you said something about America healing, that whole connection or all those things. And so, I won't say I'm far left, but I will say that during this time, for me, it's hard to straddle the fence of pro-Black and not being anti-white. And I don't have many white friends for that reason alone. And this came after me going to an all-white college. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think I stopped having real white friends other than coworkers a long time ago. So for people to reach out to you, your healing process has been different. Mine has been one of talking to people who I'm comfortable with because we have the same opinion. You know what I'm saying? And so, and even I recently jumped back on Facebook and watching some of that dialogue occur, it's just like, man, I can't. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm kind of in that part of me that says, how are you just realizing these people are racist? You know what I'm saying? How is that I think I cut them off a while ago, and not to say that I don't engage with white people, but it's not been one of a brotherhood or a sisterhood or something to where people are calling you to see how are you feeling about this, how are you doing with this, or anything like that. It's been because
Cuz, what up?
Another great has entered the room.
it's been one it's been one of more of a divisive tone. I've heard more separatist conversations than I have anything. And when you talk about, when I say that, I mean almost into the realm of reverting back to segregation. Buy black, think black, do black things, engage with black people. And so I think that it's sure we may it may have been pushed to the forefront, and now more people are realizing and accepting, and not only that, realizing that kneeling for the flag wasn't to disrespect, it was to bring forth something different. But I don't know if I can agree that it's one of those things that are merging people, because I'm at the mindset of, which is also probably not something that I should be, but I'm at the mindset of why aren't white people doing things? But when they do, I question their reasoning behind it. You know what I'm saying? I question their intent, their motive,
Yeah.
and all those other things. And so which is difficult for me to express because I work in education. You know what I'm saying? Because I work with these district personnel, coming out of the classroom was something different. Being in the classroom, you only focus on your kids. Being outside of the classroom and dealing with these people, you talk about those systemic racist policies that they have in place. You talk about things of that nature. And so it's just been one of those, I'm glad we are working from home during this time.
Yeah, I feel you.
I think that's a really good feedback, especially, and welcome, Woody, Tyrone Wilford, a graduate of Townsville High School as well, state champion in basketball, and what all else she done did? I don't know.
Four-time, cuz? Four-time?
Things.
Four-time state champ?
Yeah, something like that.
I'm gonna leave my little two in my pocket.
So we kind of just came from talking about how we responded when we heard about the deaths of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and we're kind of bleeding into a part of the conversation that I think is really healthy, and that is the interface between Black folks and white folks. So one of the questions that I had posed, or I had put inside of the question list, was the role that athletics played for us in bridging or building connections with people from diverse communities, AKA our white counterparts, or whatever other ethnicity you may have developed a relationship with during your time as an athlete. So can y'all speak to some experiences where your time as an athlete helped you to be able to make some connections with folks from different communities?
I'll jump on that one first, since I'm the one who has probably more interaction with white people than anybody. You know, based upon my job, based upon the college that I went to. For
the purposes of the conversation, tell folks where you went to college at.
Okay, so I went to Catawba College, you know, PWI, primarily white institution.
In the Hall of Fame,
predominantly white.
In the Hall of Fame.
Playing football there for 4 years, you know, you have a brotherhood, you know, and it's not just the black guys, it's the entire team. And because, you know, you guys play basketball, there's only 12 or 15 of you guys. The football, it's like 120, 150 guys. So there's a lot that you go through with together. And unfortunately, my best friend was murdered when I was in college. He was a football player. I had two other college teammates that were murdered a few months after that. So my brothers and I went through a lot together. So the bond that we share was bigger than football. So if you just go to my Facebook page, you see some of the controversial stuff that I've posted, look and see who's responding. Those are white allies who are responding to that stuff when I'm stepping all on their toes, because of the simple fact, I realize what we bring to the table. I realize what I bring to the table as far as an athlete. Now, you've ran up and down the field with me. You've jumped up and down when I'm running, dribbling, shooting, and all of that. You know, now do something. Show me that you care about me when it matters. Mm-hmm. So I use my influence from a standpoint of, did you like me because I was entertaining you, or did you like me because of who I am? So a lot of them are going to say, I like who you are. So then you have to give them an opportunity to prove it. So the way that I give them an opportunity to prove it is I show them their whiteness. I show them their privilege. So they got either two things they can do. They can sit there and have a conversation with me about what I'm trying to articulate, or they can fly off the handle. If they fly off the handle, then guess what? They ain't had no love for me in the first place. And they've written themselves out of my life. I don't have to worry about them. If their feelings are hurt, I step on their toes. Well, Nick, why do you say that? What do you mean? And I explain it to them. And they'll say, you know what? I never thought about it that way. Of course you never have. You've never had to. We have to think about everything. You don't have to think about anything. And that's what privilege is all about. So I use the influence that I have, the voice that I have, to have conversations with white people that most of us would never be in a room with. Most of us would never have their ear. So yeah, and it's not about just me. Like I posted, if you go and look, I say, just because you like or love a black person don't mean you love black people. Mm-hmm. There's some white people that like me that are probably racist as I don't know what. So I have a black friend. I have a black friend. Man, get out of here, man. It has nothing to do with, if something happens to somebody out here and you aren't upset about it because of the color of their skin, you need to check your heart. And I don't mind pulling out a mirror and putting it up in front of somebody and letting them see themselves. Mm-hmm. And for those Christians, I ask them this: do you believe in multiple gods? No, I believe in one God. So if you believe in one God, then that means the God that created you in your perfection created the black guy, created the gay individual, that created the lesbian, created all of that. So why would you treat someone else who your God, your superior God created different than you would treat yourself, or you would treat your real brother or your sister or your real friend? Because basically you're saying my superior God created me and the inferior God created them. And the look on their face, when I say it to them like that, it's like, you could just see hypocrite written on their eyes. I'm telling you, we don't want to have those tough conversations, and we have to stop being so emotional when people don't see things from our point of view. Because when you allow your emotion to get the best of you, guess what? Nobody's going to listen when they feel attacked. If I start yelling and cussing and fussing at you, you automatically going to shut down. You are not listening. You're not hearing anything I'm saying. You're waiting for your opportunity to talk again. But when we listen to each other, when we go in and we say, okay, what is important to this person? Oh, this is important to them. So let me make an analogy to get them to see things as something that's important to them that they can relate to in my life. And boom, the light bulb goes off. It's called an aha moment.
Nick on here preaching. I didn't know.
Yo, we gotta be willing. We gotta be willing to do that. You know, if you say, you know what, I'm tired of talking to these white folk. They don't understand that. They don't understand that. Well, when's the last time you sat down and tried to talk to them? They ain't gonna learn it from each other. I mean, look at where we are, 2020. They hadn't taught each other yet.
I've had some interesting conversations with folks who would staunchly disagree with you. Not to say that you're wrong.
Yeah, I know. I know. I know. And they look at me and they say, man, bump that means I ain't doing that, man. They gonna do this anyway. Guess what, man? That's more than one way to skin a cat, man.
Right.
It's more than one way. So you go and do it your way, I do it my way. And as long as we have the same goal at hand, hopefully we'll get there and meet each other at the end or somewhere along the journey. but just don't ridicule me or talk junk about me because I'm not doing it the way that you would. And I'm definitely not going to talk junk about you because you're doing it the way that I would. There's more than one way to skin a cat. As long as we have the same goal in mind and we're trying to work towards the betterment and the advancement of our people, I'm all for it.
No
Just
doubt.
to go back to that part where I said, because you said that you have people that love you that are racist, and my comment to that was
They may love you.
they may love you, but they still could be racist. That part of, because you're like, you have to also consider your stature. You have to consider the things that you do. You have to consider who you are, how you present yourself. You have to consider all those things. And what I mean by when I say that, because you're not black, they say those things. You don't talk this way, or you don't act this way. Oh no, you good. You can come and do this because you know what I'm saying. You black, but you're not black. And so that matters a lot. You know what I'm saying? That and that's where I am in this whole part of this revolution is, it doesn't matter my type of black. I'm black. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of that, as far as back to your question, Drew, to where my experiences, or how did I learn how to interact with white people, or no, you said that connection with white people. I think it was just learning how to be around them. Learning how to do things with them. I think basketball for me made me know how to talk to a lot of people, not just white people, but just the people in general. Made me know how to eat in a restaurant. Made me know how to, you know what I'm saying, just be a person, period. Athletics for me, as connecting with people, gave me the opportunity to meet people I never would. There are some black people straight from the hood that I know because of athletics, and there are some white people that lived in $500,000 homes that, you know what I'm saying, that I interacted with. And so it just gave me the opportunity to just be able to experience the entire spectrum of black, and not just my Thomasville, East Side, Hunter Street, Turner Street, black. You know what I'm saying? And so like, it made it, I don't know if I can say connection. I can say interaction. I can say toleration. I got to stay the night at their house. You know what I'm saying? But it was different. It wasn't, and that all comes from upbringing as well. You know what I'm saying? We like to talk about our present, but like, the kids are more affected by this than we are, because we have an opinion and we can defend ourselves. When you're a kid on a basketball court getting called all types of niggas, that's a different, your parents are in the stands defending you. You know what I'm saying?
Against Lefford.
Yeah. South Davidson. Like, I South Davidson threw chicken bones at our bus. West Davidson called us black nigga bees. East Davidson took our whole boys basketball team and threw all their electronics in the toilet. West Day, that was West Day. Like, I mean, you can go on Davidson after Davidson. Yeah. Davidson after Davidson. But you know what I'm saying? Our response. So when you're an athlete, you are the superior race if you're black, because you know what I'm saying? So our response as children was the scoreboard. It was never a fighting mentality, because man, you trash anyway. Because the things we said to each other was, oh, you gonna let that white girl drive past you for real? You know what I'm saying? So we were that wasn't a thing that we were cognitively thinking about. Now our parents, on the other hand, because they had experience with it as adults, they was in the stands fighting for us, talking trash, getting kicked out of games, type stuff. But for us, it was, bro, look at the scoreboard, dude. We beat you 66-8. Who cares for real? Like, whatever.
You're irrelevant.
Like, whatever. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that whole, like, as an adult, my opinion is different because I work with young children so frequently that I see it now. It's something that's visible to me, when before it was, I'm just trying to get a ring, bro. You can say what you need to say. You know what I'm saying? But even in that sense, I guess that's a later question then. That's a later question.
Well, it's interesting, because when you talk about like how y'all was just like, y'all, whatever, all that racist stuff y'all talking, this, whatever, look at the scoreboard, not knowing how the tables were turned when it came to the real power dynamic, you know, and how much more powerful they were because of, you know, their inherited wealth or access to wealth in general, and resources that, you know, we just, coming from Hunter Street, coming from Covenant Ave, we ain't had it. So I think that's really good. Woody, talk a little bit about just your experiences. I see it burning on your face.
I would look at it from a different perspective, just based on like the relationships that I built with some of my white friends that I have now. Specifically, they got to see like when we play AAU, for example. Initially, we play AAU. We might have like 2 or 3 white girls on the team, but then when we joined another organization, we got a lot more white girls, and those were like the white girls that we were playing against. And so while they're playing against us, they don't see that the hard foul that somebody just committed on me is crazy, and I can only touch them. But once they're on my team and we've developed a relationship, now it's like, well, that's not fair. Like, that's not right. So, you know what I'm saying? It gives them a different perspective when you develop a relationship and you actually do care about somebody versus, yeah, you're on my team, or yeah, I'm playing against you. We might socialize at, you know, all conference, something or another, but I don't really care about you. Versus you're on my team, like that's my teammate, you're like my sister, so that matters to me. And it was the same thing. I went to UNC Asheville first, and it was me and 2 other black girls on the team, and so it was a whole different, like, most of the athletes, kind of like Nick, were black. All the rest of the students were white. And so it was like when we went places and people were looking at us crazy, now they're more offended than I am. This is my experience. My white teammates are more offended, like, why is she looking at you like that? But I'm like, I'm used to it. I mean, what do you mean? Why is she looking at me like that? And so for me, I think for the people that I've been around and I've interacted with, it gave them a different perspective as to how I'm treated as a black woman or a black athlete versus them, you know, prior to our relationship, they wouldn't have seen that.
Yeah, it's crazy how, you know, the injustice that we see in society would almost, or was basically being reproduced on the court for y'all. Like, you know, the refs are calling the game differently. Fouls are being treated differently because y'all are black, especially when y'all playing against white teams.
Trash teams.
Very trash. But you know that I think it's just really interesting, Woody, the spin that you kind of presented on how your white teammates became aware of the injustices after, you know, y'all started playing together. Kendra, was your experience similar at Pfeiffer, or?
So Woody and I played basketball together until college.
Right.
So
Hey, I'm gonna reconnect on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna reconnect on my phone. I'm about to shut the bank down.
Okay.
All right.
Our experiences were very similar, even at Pfeiffer. So the first thing I learned when I got to Pfeiffer, which is a couple minutes down the road from Catawba, by the way, is that right outside, right as you go up, I think it's 52. Right as you go up, there used to be a Grand Dragon billboard, and so it's a KKK. It was a KKK prominent. Like they had a meeting, a Grand Dragon meeting in our student union type of thing.
Wow.
And facts. And so my experience with basketball at Pfeiffer was more of because we knew those things, because those things were so, you know what I'm saying? Like we hung around the black people on campus, not like we played basketball with each other all the time and we were around each other all the time. But when we weren't, we connected with the people that shared our experiences more because we knew that we were in a location where we can't drive but so far with too many black people in the car without something may occurring. Like you don't go past a certain point after a certain time. You know what I'm saying? And so, sure, I never had any bad interactions with them. And sure, you're on the same team. A foul is a foul is a foul. Everybody's in an uproar. And that part of it But I also think it's important to make note of, we didn't experience those things until we were in college. Talent made that happen. We didn't experience those things in AAU, merging of the teams. Talent made merging of the teams happen. And those kids were, think about those kids who got to play on that sorry team because their parents weren't able to put them on that Phoenix team because their parents, you know what I'm saying? And so now they don't get to experience that same dynamic with the interracial sports, so to speak. So coming from our own perspective, it's very different when looking within and seeing what our own biases are. You know what I'm saying? Like I said before, I'm having a difficult time straddling the fence of being pro-Black and anti-white. Because of the things that I deal with on a day-to-day. So I think experience and circumstance are always going to play a major role when we start talking about what did that look like for you, because I see through a different set of lenses than you. You know what I'm saying? And so the things that you deal with and have gone through are different from me. And I hated the fact that I didn't go to a HBCU. You know what I'm saying? I low-key envy people who got to experience HBCU life. Because when I was younger, we all were younger in the same city. There was nothing glamorous about being Black in Thomasville. Social media didn't exist, so we didn't. All we saw was our teachers who were hard on us because we were Black and were preparing us for white America. So we ain't like them. You know what I'm saying? Looking back, you're thankful for them, but like at that time, like, dude, calm down. You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't see anything that I wanted to be that was Black other than like, so I'm trying to let this go. And you should go to A&T or you should go to this. And then you heard all those negative stories about those campuses. And so when I went to that school and I graduated from Pfeiffer, and it wasn't until after graduation that I realized all white people ain't the same white people. You know what I'm saying? Because so I was more tolerant as a child because it didn't matter to me. I was oblivious I didn't have any social awareness. Let's say that. I was not very socially aware. But then when I graduated and I had a little bit more knowledge within myself, I began to notice little things. The small things made a difference. Just by looking at me, I'm myself 24 hours of the day. And so just by looking at me, you would not know any of the things that I were capable of. And that goes for all Black people. You know, for the most part, you don't know anything they're capable of just by looking at them. And so I'm being condemned by people who are not as intelligent as I am. They don't have what I have. They can't do the things I do, but just because of who I look like. And I was just like, yo, that's crazy. And so then I started being on this revolutionary pro-Black kind of movement thing, because I only engaged with white people for a long time in my life. And I think y'all can remember all of my, like, I only did things with white people because of that. It wasn't glamorized to do anything. Like, I can't think of Black people that I wanted to be like when I grew up. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to think of it right now. Other than our parents, you know what I'm saying, our heroes within our personal life, there wasn't a LeBron James. Like, we ain't look at nobody like that to where I want to go here and do these things because they're Black. No, we said I want to go here and do these things because of what they have, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, I think all those things take a part in how we interact socially even with athletics. So
I think that's a really powerful point, because you're right. The only like Black people that we had to look up to in the Ville was the athletes, and not many of, particularly for women athletes. I mean, I know that there's a rich history of women athleticism, or at least like women who were athletic in Thomasville, but they were few and far between before y'all came along and really started winning at a level for women or for girl athletes that I don't think the city had ever seen. Maybe in track at certain points back in the day, but what y'all did was unprecedented at the time. But even for y'all, like, there wasn't a lot of people who you can model yourselves after, which I think really plays a big role in some self-hate that's developed. I think about, I'm a big fan of W.B. Du Bois, and he talked about double consciousness and how Black people saw themselves through the lens of white people. And that's so true. And the role that plays in how we perceive ourselves is, just really, really destructive, especially when we don't have those models of people. Our parents did an amazing job, or whoever our guardians were that helped to raise us. But aside from that, we really relied on the football field or the basketball court or the baseball diamond or whatever for that type of motivation of how we could make it out. And unfortunately, even the athletic arena has lost its draw and its luster for folks. Woody, I see you. You look like you got a couple of different things bouncing around. Go ahead and let us know what you're thinking.
So I was gonna say what you said about the self-hate thing. I do remember, like in high school, there were some times where we were competitive, not because we wanted to be the best, but, well, this is my opinion, but I want to be a better Black girl than you are. And so sometimes maybe like in a pickup game or, a drill, I went like extremely hard on my Black teammate. Like, not because I'm doing this because I want to make you better, which is what was really happening, but that wasn't my mindset. It was like, no, I want people to see me as the better. I wasn't thinking of it in that moment, but once I have time to reflect as an adult, that's really what was happening. Like, I'm better than this, my Black teammate. And it's crazy that even, subconsciously I wasn't thinking about it in the moment, but the fact that as a child, a teenager, I'm thinking these things, just crazy.
It was
kind of just blows
interesting that you say that because it was one of those things too, to where though we knew that everybody else was watching us be Black subconsciously, like it wasn't anything we expressed outwardly, and so
Right.
on between those black lines, you would never know it, but off the court, you won't believe how many arguments, how many grudges, how many just so much because of just that. I gotta be better than you. I need to do that. You know what I'm saying? And so it was always even an internal competition within yourself that I need to be better because of this, that, and the third. And there are probably times that we all did or said some hurtful things to our teammates for that reason alone.
Mm-hmm.
But specifically, Kendra was a senior. I was a junior, right? We were playing Farmville Central.
Probably.
Is it? Okay. Wait, I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's the game. We were playing Farmville Central, so we had we had several white teammates, but this specific one, Ann Crowder, was our white teammate, and she could shoot. That's what she did. We penetrated, kicked it out to her. She knocked down a shot. This game, last game of their senior year, it was like understood that we were not going to pass her the ball.
Really?
First half, she was not going to get MVP. I remember this like it was yesterday. Like, she was not going to get MVP, and we were losing by 20 at halftime. Like, and Kendra was kind of like, at halftime, our coach did not come in the locker room. We'd never been down by that much. Like, he didn't come in there, give us no type of pep talk or anything. But Kendra was like, if we lose, nobody gonna get MVP. So it's kind of like, that makes sense. So we started passing her the ball, but I specifically remember like everybody like looking her off and taking crazy shots, and I'm like, well, dang. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if she was aware of it or anything, but it was just like, dang, that's crazy. Like, she can shoot. That's her role on our team. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no reason to hate, for the lack of a better word, on the person that can do their job well. Yeah. But I just thought about that.
No, I think that's good.
I think that comes from, I don't think that
well, I mean, I can't speak for you, but just speaking from, experience and being, you know, almost 40 years old and being around, athletics a long time, I think a lot of that is just a small town mentality. I think we have, for some odd reason, we have it in our mind that only a few of us can make it out. I
Yeah.
don't think that we consciously realize that, hey, everybody can make it. Everybody just has to do their part. So it's like, well, if you average more points than me, then you're going to get the scholarship like it's only one scholarship out there. So a lot of times
Yeah.
we end up competing with the very people that could help us get to where it is that we want to get to.
Yep.
And it's sad because a lot of that ends up being us as black people fighting against each other because we want to have the upper hand,
Mhm.
where we can just say, you know what, the better you are, my brother, the better off I'm gonna be. And that's how me and my boys rock. You know what I'm saying? I rock with the same cats I don't rock with for a long time. And people look at us, they have what they have to say about us, but it is what it is. But at the end of the day, iron sharpens iron. So if I make sure, if I hold you to a certain standard and I hold you accountable, and if I'm slipping, then I can come to you. But if I hang around with a bunch of no good jokers, then guess what? When I'm down, I don't have nobody to turn to. So, man, you only as strong as your weakest link. I truly believe that. And man, if you the sharpest crayon or the sharpest pencil in the box or the brightest crayon in the box, you need to get out that box and get it another.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's really relevant feedback, and it brings me to another point that actually wasn't on the the paper, but I think it's a good conversation topic. So we mostly play with under uh, white leadership, whether on the football field and then also on the basketball court. Uh, I know that there was a ongoing conversation amongst folks on the football field, particularly that would suggest if Coach Brown and the coaching hierarchy didn't like you, then you wouldn't get any recommendations to colleges or to extend your career collegiately. Now, it's all hearsay unless a person can speak to it directly. I would imagine that there was some similar conversations going on the basketball court as well, as far as the support that one would receive from their coaches. So, in y'all's experience in Thomasville athletics, do you feel that bias or racism impacted your coach's role, the role that your coach played in your career extending collegiately?
I'll take that one. Let me tell you something, and I've told people this from a long time ago. Thomasville High School basketball did not get me into college.
Mm-hmm.
Thomasville High School basketball kept me ready for AAU basketball, and that is not a lie.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to, like, I love Coach Rader.
Yeah.
I love Coach Rader. I just don't think at that time, I mean, we also have to consider coaching knowledge. I don't think he really, I don't think, and he was good at what he did and the way he brought us together and the way he motivated us and all those things. But as far as recruiting, as far as video, like tape and all, first of all, bias, if he didn't put us in, who was going to get in the game? You know what I'm saying?
Everybody want to win.
Right.
He didn't put us in, there. I mean, it is what it is. And so, like, I will say that lack of knowledge. I'll say lack of knowledge is the reason why. From what I don't want to say that man was racist because I don't have anything to stand on to say that. You know what I'm saying? All I know is that we did film, but we did it to watch to be better for the game. We didn't do it to send off or for recruitment. And so that was all summer camps. That was all AAU basketball. They had nothing to do with Thomasville High School. We got rings and they came to games, but I don't even think we got recruited from playoff games.
Wow.
You what I'm saying? I still think that came from traveling, like nationally traveling, or being able to that exposure. Exactly, that exposure. So I don't know. I didn't play enough. I didn't play football. There's a lot of them they can choose from. But I think the mentality in Thomasville was win, and once you won, who's up next? Like once I graduated, who's up next?
Wow.
It wasn't a let me continue to follow you afterwards. It was just who's next?
Yeah.
So I want to piggyback off of what Kendra just said, basically the last thing that she just said, because when I was teaching at Thomasville, and I know some of the athletes, once football season was over, they were not eligible to graduate. And I'm
Mm.
just trying to figure out how does that happen if I spent my 4 years on your team, you've been my coach, and as long as you need me and you can use me, I'm eligible. So you're making sure you're staying on top of me. But as soon as I can't play on your team anymore, I'm not your issue.
Mm-hmm.
Or they haven't taken the SAT or, the ACT or what they haven't applied to any colleges. I don't understand that. Even if you're not going to be an athlete in college, or if you're not going to go to college, if you're going to take the ASVAB, whatever the case may be, it's almost like once I can't use you anymore, you don't mean anything to me. And I'm not speaking from basketball because Coach Rader did help us. Well, he didn't help us, but he at least mentioned it to us. I don't really know. I wasn't on the football team, but I'm just saying I see a lot of male athletes, and it happens to them where everybody's scrambling, where you got to go all the way to almost Columbia, South Carolina to take your SAT because there's none available around you because you waited to the last minute or something like that. Like that doesn't make sense to me. That's one of the things as an adult that I looked at and was like, well, that's crazy. Like
You almost said it.
So it's just, I mean, that from looking from that end, it was like, well, that's not right for a child who actually really wants to, like, I want to get out of Thomasville. I just don't know how to. And you have access to me getting out of here. You're just not willing to help me once you can't use me anymore.
Yeah.
Ooh, y'all preaching in here.
Go ahead, Nick.
Man, y'all preaching in here, man. Look, man. At the end of the day, man, I ain't got beef with nobody, man. I mind my business. I stay in my own lane. But I do know that, I was, like I said, a better basketball player than football player in high school, and just had a pretty good senior year. And I remember going to take all county pictures. I hate to even bring this up, but I was going to take all county pictures. And 2-year-old receiver.
Nick, your connection is getting kind of shaky.
Oh, okay. Man, I'm riding. I'm going to Albemarle to get a haircut, so I'm out in the country. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right. So I remember going to Lexington High School to take all county pictures for football, and I remember asking Coach, like, "Hey, man, I just broke a 32-year-old record for receiving touchdowns. And I ain't getting recruited, like, man, like that don't make sense to me." And he looked at me and he said, "So, like, you're interested to play football in college?" I said, "Man, I'm interested to play whatever I can play." Oh, well, I didn't know that. So there were people who were, inquiring about me that were being told, "Oh, he's a basketball player. He's going to school to play basketball." I mean, I was heated, livid. So I think he had malice in his heart when he did that. I can't speak for that man. But what I do know is that I, as the athlete, or me and my family should be able to make that choice versus somebody else making a choice for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think, Kendra, you mentioned this earlier, systematic or structural racism, and these experiences that several athletes in schools like Thomasville have experienced is a byproduct of that. The reason why there was a coach, Rader, or whoever Nick, who your coach was at the time, the reason why they lacked that ability is because rural, predominantly Black schools typically they have a large amount of teachers, coaches, oftentimes who are there for a short period of time because the turnover is very high at Title I schools, or who may have a limited amount of experience just because they're fresh and new to the game. And so as a result, these schools don't get the quality level of educators that other schools would receive. And so it still is a byproduct of racism, maybe not intentionally from those particular staff members, but because the system is created in a way that doesn't often allow us to have access to the quality teachers and coaches that we would need who could steer us in the proper direction, not even to play collegiately. I had very few conversations with my academic advisor about going to college, period. And if we did have conversations about going to college, it was straight HBCUs. Now, I'm HBCU born and bred, double HBCU grad, Winston-Salem State A&T. And I'm so thankful that I had those opportunities to go. But had I been guided properly and advised properly, I would have had at least a certain level of confidence to pursue any school. I didn't have that. Neither does many students from the city where we're from. So I want to kind of circle back to our questions and get ready to wrap up because we've been going close to an hour. And this has been rich, really, really good content. I appreciate y'all so much. I want to throw this one out here. And I was saying this earlier, recent years, Thomasville sports has lost its luster. Students are not participating anymore, or not as frequently as they once did. Why do you feel that kids participating in sports is important for their development? And if so, what are some suggestions that y'all would throw out to get kids in Thomasville in particular back involved in athletics?
Well, being a high school coach now, coach basketball and football. I coach at a high school, North Rowan, that is extremely similar to Thomasville. Demographics, the area, all of that. Unfortunately, the streets is winning right now, man. And because the streets look better than the field and the court. You got cats that are in middle school making money in the street because of the simple fact that there's nobody talking to them about life. There's nobody talking to them about growing old. There's nobody talking to them about being a responsible parent. There's nobody talking to them about any of that stuff. So all they can see is today. So today I want money. Today I want that nice belt. Today I want those nice J's. Today I want those jeans. So what do I have to do today to get what I want today? So we definitely have to find a way to incorporate better resources to change the way that our youth think. We have to change the values. We have to change what's important to them. And once they can see that, I mean, the three people that's on this call right now, most of what we are is a direct result of us playing sports. Our ability to interact with people that come from different backgrounds. Our ability to work through problem solving, our ability to critically think. All of that comes from sports. You got to be able to think on the fly. And unfortunately, because a lot of these kids aren't playing sports, they don't know how to deal with pressure. That's why you have gun violence going up, because of the simple fact when one is met with resistance, what do? They attack because they don't know what else to do but to fight or to shoot. So we have to find a way, man, to change our kids' mentality, take it back to being about teamwork, being about something bigger than yourself. Because right now, see, back in the day, our football team, our basketball team, that was our game. We didn't need no game because you had your brothers on the team. But now, you know, it's about other things, and it's sad because, you know, like most people say, you know, you have some of your best athletes that don't even come to school. They ain't playing nobody's sport. And all you got to do is just get them there, have them a part of something that's bigger than themselves. They start having fun, they buy into it, and next thing you know, they're successful.
I think though, school in general. So I won't put it on. I'll even go further back than that. Money. Little league sports now cost a lot of money because those same kids. Because I mean, Nick, you already told us you was 5-6 years ahead of us, so it may have been different. And as the generations progress, it does get it's become more loose. But I'll say we still have that same number of people on the corner at docks doing their thing. I'll say that we had all those things happening, and money is an issue. Those people were making money for their families, be it cool or not. That's what they were doing. The money was an issue for us, and we played. You know how many fish fries, pig pickings, car washes, fundraisers. We spent our time doing that. I don't think there are enough, and it's hard to say that because I've left Thomasville, and so I feel so very hypocritical for this, but I don't think there are enough adults investing in the kids as far as the outside of, because I'll say it again, Thomasville City Schools didn't get me into college. You know what I'm saying? Academically was an at-home thing. I was forced to get those things, and so even continuously being in that school system and moving up in the district, you see that a lot of it comes from the teachers aren't the top 10 reason. Teachers are a part of the problem, but they're not even a top 10 reason as to why kids aren't successful in school, be it sports or whatever. I don't want to come to school because school is a police state of mind now. You got to do everything in such a policed fashion. Why do I want to be there? Especially when you've already counted me out. You know what I'm saying? And I love watching those videos on Facebook where those kids be going in talking trash to the teacher, slapping them and all kind of stuff. I say I encounter those types of kids all the time, but I see it happening. It don't ever happen to me because there's a rapport there. There's, what are you laughing? But you know it's true. It's something different there, and so it's not. It's so far back to Little League. Like, come on now, we all had the same Little League and middle school and high school coach up until then. Now it's a rotation of coaches, whoever available at the time. You know what I'm saying? We played with the same people forever. You know what I'm saying? We had the same coaches forever. Now it's just who can tolerate these kids and who can't. You know what I'm saying? It's who is, and one of those reasons why it's get money, do this right now is it still goes back to that systemic racism because Black people are community people. Once we start trying, now it's become a competition. You know what I'm saying? Most people of color thrive in a community environment. You know what I'm saying? And so we've eliminated that community environment. It's who's better than who. It's who can get the most access to this. It's my kid. My good athlete can't be at this school. So now your team trash. You know what I'm saying? So now you got to play with what you can because of choice. Now you get to move your kid to whatever school you want them to go to. We ain't had that option.
Right.
You know who made that an option? Those kids from East Davidson who came to play with us because we were winning. Sonya and old girl, they came to play with us because we were winning. Then they transferred back after basketball season was over. Brian Short came and played with us while we were winning. You know what I'm saying? And so those things, all those things matter. And we can say that it's parents, but our parents knew, but most parents don't. Most parents don't know. And as an educator, it is that's your profession. You're the professional. You know what I'm saying? You figure it out. Stop making this be a parental issue. Yes, maybe you should, say that your kids should be respectful. You should try to get them into sports. But now the times have changed. It's like way different now. So now we have to be more creative in how we're approaching children. You can't just say, hey, come join my team, because of course they already had those attitudes and things. You know what I'm saying? Like they are, it's a, I don't even, and especially if you're losing, you know what I'm saying? We used to get whooped when we first started playing basketball. We got beat by a team from South Carolina, 97-13. Pride. But we had people on our team behind us telling, like, making us get better. From day one till my senior year in high school, complete 180. You would have not known that I could play basketball then. Not only that, people were in the communities finding us to play. They went and got us and made us come play. Earl went and got Charnette and brought her to the basketball court. You know what I'm saying? How many people are out there looking for kids? You know what I'm saying? Trying to get those kids into those communities, get those kids onto the court. It's always come sign up if you're interested. You know what I'm saying? And then the next line has the cost of it. Well, that loss, I can't even go tell my mama about that. We barely can eat. You know what I'm saying? So it's a money thing and a fundraising issue. Like, are you willing to go take that time out on a full day on Saturday? Like, we sat in the gym for AAU tournaments raising money just to go to Florida, like for the whole weekend, 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. And because our parents, that's where they made us be there. You know what I'm saying? These parents, I won't say that they love their children, but their means is different than what ours was. And it's because we were in an athletic environment, that community. You know what I'm saying? It's no longer, it takes a village. It's, do you want to join this village? Oh, you disrespectful? You good. You know what I'm saying? Nobody has that patience anymore to deal with children.
That's good. Moody?
I'll just say it looks like, for example, for the athletes that are really good and could potentially make it, it looks like they get paid a lot more attention. And as Kendra said, we did not start out really good. We started out horribly, but we had people that were working with us. No, our attitudes weren't great. No, we were not the best fundamentally sound athletes. However, through work, somebody working with us, you know what I'm saying, somebody saw potential in us and they took the time to work with us. Now it looks like, from my perspective, I no longer live in Thomasville, but it looks like if at 7, 8 years old, you can run a punt back and get a touchdown, everybody gravitates towards you. But if you're not that stellar athlete at that young age, nobody really pays you much attention. They're not willing to tolerate you or your bad attitude or, you know, your lack of sportsmanship that you have not learned yet. Nobody's willing to instill that into you. And so it's like the kids who, I mean, yes, I want to play a sport. Maybe I haven't mastered it yet because I'm just 6 or 7 and I'm just starting out. But it's almost like they don't really have a chance because, oh, you shut your teeth at me? Okay, go sit on the bench and don't worry about ever coming back in. Versus, let me teach you in this moment how you handle, you know, getting corrected. And it's almost like the same way in the classroom. I might not make your EVA scores be green or you exceed, whatever the case may be, but at least I can grow. I do have the potential to grow. But if you feel like, because maybe one day I had a bad day, which everybody's entitled to, I don't always have good days. As a child, you definitely can have bad days and you're still learning how to cope with those bad days. I'm not going to write you off and hold a grudge because you had an attitude and you exploded on me one day. Okay, have your moment. We're going to talk about it the next day. Like, it's almost like we don't want to develop the kids anymore. We just want them to have it. Let me attach my name to you so that if by chance you do make it big, you can say I had something to do with it. And if you don't make it big, I tried to tell that boy, but he wouldn't listen.
Lack of investment. A lack of investment.
But that's a lack of investment of those people that are in those roles, though. Professional development for educators has been poor. I'm in CMS. I commend CMS. They send us to equity training. I went to LA last year.
Charlotte Mecklenburg.
Yeah. I went
Okay.
to LA last year, and I was in a deep conversation with people from all over the country and inner city schools about like teacher biases, racism amongst the educators, and that's where I say we are in a. We always talk about teaching pedagogy. Well, the pedagogy that's being used right now is a policing pedagogy. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just you walk in a straight line, you be quiet. School's not fun. They've taken away recess. Like nobody wants to be there. You know what I'm saying? And so like if that is the only place that I can't get to college if I don't graduate from high school. So I can play Little League and AAU forever. You know what I'm saying? However, if I don't graduate from high school, I can't go any further. And it's going to take a complete redevelopment of the educational system because either there is no such thing as I'm not racist. Either you are anti-racist or not. That's it. I'm anti-racist or not because if I'm anti-racist, I'm no longer, upholding those racial policies and procedures and things. So like at a school of majority white kids, those kids are running through the hallways playing. At an all black school, you got to walk in a straight line. You got to put a bubble in your mouth. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be there. You have to wear a uniform. And some people can say whatever you want, however you feel about uniforms. But I mean, that's a thing. School violence didn't go down. Bullying didn't go down because of uniform changes. There are certain things that are happening in school systems that make them not want to be there. And it all ties back to that racism, systemic racism or whatever. And so that starts from the top. And until you can get a group of educators, principal included, to sit down and say, what are my biases? Let me hear your opinion. Because black teachers can be a part of the issue because they are wanting to prepare kids for white America because that's what we grew up trying to be. So for example, if you ask me something about something I read and I start my statement off using incorrect, you be like, that ain't how you say that. That ain't how you say that. And so you know what I say? Well, call on somebody else then. Because I know the book, but the way that I'm saying it isn't for you. So call on somebody else then. Because let's keep it 100. We didn't start speaking this way until afterwards. Yeah. That intellectual shift happened because we were curious about it. But that took us wanting to be, you know what I'm saying, wanting to dive into education. Nobody wants to do that anymore. It's like, this is what it is, this is what you do, or you can have ISS forever, you can get suspended forever. And so all the top athletes get suspended too. They are ineligible to play because their grades are trash. Like, so it all relates back to the same thing as to, if I'm going to teach in this school system, then, you know what I'm saying? I went to that conference and they said that in a 8th grade class, you have at Title I schools, y'all talked about turnover. You have a fresh, blonde hair, blue eyed teacher ready to jump into the classroom. She's brand new, inexperienced. You have an 8th grade class who've been going through the same thing year after year, new teacher after new teacher. So they antsy, they do what they want to do. And you put her in that class. You just set them up for failure because she has no idea what's going on, but you just set her up for failure. And no matter how much change she wants to make, she can't because there's no backup for her. If the kid gets put out, you put them back in and you have to deal with it, learn classroom management. You know what I'm saying? So like it starts from way up there when you start you can't even talk about athletics. You got to talk about just even wanting to be present in the building as a child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and being willing to invest in young people in these communities like Thomasville. I think that is super powerful. That perspective that I gained from y'all's feedback on that particular question. Like it's a lack of folks who are willing to engage in that long-term relationship building, self-sacrificial like work. Investing in kids requires work. I think it's a much louder and effective form of protest than how we're seeing protests. I don't think there's anything wrong with the protests that's happening. I think they're important. I think that they are playing a major role in the changes that we're starting to see. But another form of protest is mentorship. Another form of protest is being willing to create an AAU program, and rather than just telling kids to come sign up, going to find them. Like y'all was describing, like I don't see that anymore, or not as frequently as it happened before. So I think a part of the answer, and that's the direction that we're moving in to close out the conversation. A part of the answer has to be folks being willing to invest in these young people, in these Black and brown bodies, boys and girls, or anywhere along the gender binary for that matter. Like, we got to be willing to build relationships with folks, with our young people, and help guide them in some of the experiences. So moving forward, initially my question was going to be like, how can sports help to dismantle racism? But if y'all want to answer from a sports perspective, that's cool. Just for Thomasville in general, speaking of Thomasville in general, I know y'all in different areas. Shame on Thomasville. Hold on, let me do this little soapbox real quick. Shame on the bill, our leadership structures, whatever, for not having these beautiful people here in the school system, in whatever area of influence that they have. This is a part of the reason why we are not progressing the way that we should, because we're not able to retain the people that matter the most to the city's trajectory. So that's my soapbox. Give me some last final reflections on how things can get better in Thomasville in particular. Just from your experiences, from your skill set, whatever. What's your quick and dirty ideas on how things can improve in Thomasville?
Okay, I'll go first. I just want to say I did teach at Thomasville Middle School and high school.
Yep, sure did.
This is why I left, or how I left. So, sorry, since we mentioned it. There's a superintendent who was not from Thomasville, knew nothing of Thomasville, but I started teaching at the high school. I came in like March of 1 year, and so I only got to teach those kids maybe like a month and a half, and then they had to take their exams, whatever the case may be. The next year I was on maternity leave, and so my EBOS data prior to being in Thomasville was always amazing. But because I didn't have interactions with the children, obviously, you know what I'm saying, I came almost at the end of the year, and then I had to leave for 3/4 of the year. So my EBOS data was pretty bad. And so she decided that she was going to move me to the middle school. And unbeknownst to me, I have a meeting with her, and she's like, you're going to go to the middle school or you have to find another job. While I'm sitting in the office with her with 2 other people who have been a part of Thomasville City Schools, they know me, and they don't say anything. So I'm just like looking around like, nobody's going to defend me in this moment? Like, really? Like, I'm one of y'all people. Like, I don't understand what's happening. Nobody said anything. And so I thought about, like, I'm getting out of here. But because of, I just had my daughter, resources, my family, whatever the case may be, I stayed. And the next year, I blew my EBOS. I think it's the best I've ever done. Like, just for the simple fact of, I can't believe y'all allowed this woman to do this to me. So let me show you what I really can do, and then I'm getting out of here. Like, so it was like too many people at the top making decisions that don't know anything about who we are. Like, this woman had us for the beginning of school, like one of our professional development things where we were riding around on school buses, knocking on doors, giving out like Rice Krispie treats. And she was wanting us to like ride around, sit in silence, and look at where some of your students are coming from and all this other stuff. And I'm thinking, like everybody in Thomasville, she made it seem like everybody in Thomasville was poor. Nobody had water, like running water in their house. And it, you know what I'm saying? She already had like this stereotype in her head. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, this lady is crazy. Like, you don't know anything about anything. And this is ridiculous. But this is who y'all are choosing to lead us. Like, what? Why would you pick somebody like this?
Most of them want to go viral.
So, but, sorry, I just had to throw that out there. But for me, I think that as adults, like our adults in the Thomasville community, I think that, yes, these are different kind of kids, and they're not as respectful as we were. And, you know, they voice their opinions and whatever the case may be, but I think they need support and correction. I think that a lot of times now, specifically in small towns, when stuff is happening, if it's not my kid, it's not my business. And that's not the way it was when I was growing up. So no, nobody like walked up to me and put their hands on me, but either they said something to me or they said something to one of my relatives. And my relative did not snap back at them as in, worry about your own child, don't worry about my child. Like, it was such and such said, they saw you doing blah, blah, blah. You better not, you know, whatever happened after that, after that. But it wasn't like, because somebody was trying to correct me, my mom flipped out on that person. Like, it was, my mom understood, and I think all of our parents understood that, like, and I guess it was just understood without being explained. We want these kids to be successful versus now, I mean, I don't really care what happens because you're not my child. Yeah. Like, so I think that as, like, people in the community, there needs to be more support. And no, I don't always have to correct you. But, like, for example, for the athletic teams, they're not the best in this moment. But I think, you know, people that, like, if I know basketball and I see the basketball team losing, but I can pull, like, I see somebody at Walmart, oh, I saw you boxed out, you know, whatever. I highlight something that you did correctly. And, it, you know, it makes you feel good about what you're doing versus, dang, y'all got whooped by 50. Y'all lost to East Davidson. How you let that happen? We didn't never, back in the day, that never would have happened. And it's just like there's no self-esteem building. Like we said before, we got to invest in the kids. And I think, like, just supporting the kids, because at the end of the day, we're all adults now. And, of course, we have, you know, life to live, but we've made our decisions. And, you know, we're still growing, but, you know, they're still trying to figure it out. And they think they have it figured out, but you got to understand that they're kids at the end of the day. Like, and they didn't come into the world learning how to be disrespectful. I mean, they didn't come into the world being disrespectful. It was a learned behavior. And so we got to take the time to unlearn those behaviors. Like, we have to invest in the kids. That's what I feel.
I think that she's done a great job with the community involvement, the community aspect, that notion of positive reinforcement as opposed to every time you do something wrong. I think that in this moment in time, what we know is there's no room for mediocre Black people in America. You have to exceed and excel. And the more subtitles you have, whether it be female, gay, whatever it is, the more subtitles you have, the higher you have to excel to be considered on a platform near, because it's not going to be equal. And so we can say that these protests are working, they doing all these things, but they haven't given up what we've asked for. And what we've asked for is equality. You know what I'm saying? And so the only way that happens when you talk about children is investing in them in athletics, in the community, but also in the classroom. And you have to teach them as if you were teaching a child that you had the highest confidence in. What we're doing is we're watering down the curriculum and then getting mad they can't pass standardized testing. It has nothing to do with the community. We passed, has nothing to do with where you're from that you can't pass. So that whole Black children are less likely to pass is because the teachers that they have. They are less likely to give them on grade level content because they don't think they can do it. And so what they're doing is charity work. They want it to be easier for them so that they can, all these kids making A's. One of the first problems I had was, why does my child not have an A? They had an A last year. I said, but they also failed their EOG last year, so there's no way they can have an A because they don't understand grade level material. And so we have to be able to present them with grade level material so that they can excel. Because other than that, we're creating mediocre Black children, mediocre brown children in America, and then we're expecting them to exceed at a level as everyone else. The gap is here, and we're causing that gap in the classroom because we want them to pass the test, because I want my data in a meeting to look good. You know what I'm saying? And so like it has and teacher doesn't know the content, so they can't even figure out how do I go back and make sure they can catch up? And then how do I enrich them to make sure they excel? Because the teacher don't know the content, because to be a teacher, you can have a degree in underwater basket weaving. You know what I'm saying? And everything else, you have to have this certification and this and this and this. But in education, it's not that. If you have as long as you have 4 years under your belt, now I'm lateral entry. I didn't major in education. You know what I'm saying? So I won't make that be the only reason, but I took time I also went into my content. You know what I'm saying? Like I majored in a specific content and that's what I delivered in. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I know the content, but working with these teachers, they don't know the content and they want to blame it on the kids. And so I have to tell them frequently, well, if all the kids got it wrong, that's a you problem. You know what I'm saying? Well, 5 of my kids, they ESL. Well, what about the other 22? They failed too. You know what I'm saying? So like it's a major discrepancy as into intent and action. And I think all teachers have good intentions going into the classroom, but their actions aren't matching their intentions. And so I can tell you that I intend for you to be great, but what I'm doing for you right now isn't creating greatness. It's contributing to and perpetuating that mediocrity. And then when you get in college, you're going your freshman year because you didn't understand freshman math, which is 8th grade math. Let's keep it 100. Math is 8th grade. You know what I'm saying? And so like, that's a part of it too. I think that to kind of get those kids more involved and wanting them to be there and keeping them on keeping their grade point averages high so that they can be able to play sports, is you have to deliver to them, not so that they can play sports, deliver it to them down here, because none of us play professional basketball right now. You know what I'm saying? So we had to depend on our education, and athletics played a major part in that. Without athletics, I wouldn't have my degree. You know what I'm saying? And so D1, D2, or D3, it gets people in the door. However, once you in the door, then what?
What you gonna do?
Yeah. Go ahead, Nick.
Man, y'all heavy. Y'all heavy. Man, wow. Like it makes my heart smile, man, to sit here and to hear my young sisters, you know, speak so passionately, so eloquently about, you know, who we are, the state of the union of our people. I want to focus on 2 words. In the Black community, accountability. In the white community, empathy. As far as the racial relation standpoint, white people would be more empathetic, then they could actually see where we're coming from, hear our complaints, hear our cries, look at us as equals, and then we could get somewhere. Accountability as far as our community. Me and the boys, you know, we coined the term the village. That's what we call Thomasville. It's the village, and we consider ourselves again. So Thomasville used to be a village. It used to be that if somebody saw you out, they could say something to you, and by the time you made it home to your grandparents, they already walked through the door. You know what I'm saying? Like, I did what I did growing up. It ain't no secret. You know what I'm saying? It ain't secret for those people who was rocking with me. For those people who wasn't rocking with me, they have no idea what to do. There was always big things that I did. I always had not only my parents and my grandparents, my family, but I
Hey, now, Nick.
I didn't want any adult. I didn't want any adult to see me in a state that didn't see me. I didn't want to be seen in. You got kids these days in middle school and walk to the gym high as I don't know what. You know, just like that. And it's like,
You fading out.
Can you hear me?
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit, but it's still scratchy.
Man, I'm out here in the country,
I
man.
know.
Hold on a second. Hey, can you hear me now?
Try to keep talking.
What about now?
Yeah.
All right. So I don't know the last thing that you heard, but you know, I never wanted to embarrass my family. I never wanted to embarrass anybody that had love for me. So I was always cognizant about where I was doing, what I was doing, and who I was around. You know, and a lot of times, unfortunately, these kids, they feel like they can go anywhere and do anything. So until we start holding them accountable, not necessarily, hey, boy, you don't need to be doing that. Hey, look, come here, man. Let me tell you something. I know you want to have, but the choices that you make today are going to affect what you have, what you accomplish tomorrow. I ask the kids that I coach all the time, like, what are your goals for tomorrow? Oh, yes, coach, I want to do that. Okay, so are your actions today lined up with those that you have set for yourself tomorrow? If they don't, then you just straight up lip service, man. So don't lie to me. Like, tell me what you want out of life, and I'm gonna do everything that I can to help you accomplish that, even when you don't want me to. So, I mean, we got to start holding each other accountable, man. Like I said, iron sharpens iron. We're not asking anybody to be perfect, but let's hold each other accountable, man. Let's, you know, not necessarily going on Facebook and blasting each other, man. That's weak. That's weak, man. That's divisive behavior. We need to call your brother, man. Call your sister. Pull them to the side. Say, hey, look, man. Hey, what about this? Let's do this. Let's do that. You know, and let's make that community a village again, man. Where, you know, I am my brother's keeper. You know, I got my brother. I got my sister's back, man. Because when our kids see us working together, then they're gonna work together. They see us divided. They see us going at each other. They see the elders just being completely disrespectful. I mean, you know, hate authority, you know, just lack of respect for authority. They're going to follow in our footsteps, man. It don't matter what you say, is what you do. And I'm going to leave you with this. My grandfather always told me, well, he told me one day, we're outside raking. And my sister, my little cousins were all in the house, my grandparents' house. And he looked at me one day. He said, you know what? No matter how good or bad in life you're doing, somebody want to be just like you. So it hit me. And I'm like, wow, okay. It's pretty heavy. You know what I'm saying? I don't need all of that in my life right now. I didn't do anything. I don't deserve that, you know. But then he followed it up with this. He said, so if you go to heaven, you're going to take somebody with you. If you go to hell, you're going to take somebody with you. And I looked at the door. I looked at the door going into my grandparents' house, and I knew that my sister and my cousins were in there, Maya, Jasmine, and Jalen. I knew they were in there. And I knew that they were going to follow in my footsteps. And I said, you know what? I don't want their blood on my hands. So every day, like I said, no, I ain't perfect, but every day I do everything I can, man, to show them that there's a better way. Not from what I'm doing, but there's a better way they see on a daily basis. So that maybe one day, you know, they can look back at life and say, hey, man, you know what? I accomplished everything I wanted to in life.
Dope, man. We can end it on that note. I want to thank everybody that participated in this town hall, talking about sports and racism. Man, not only are our panelists amazing athletes that did some phenomenal stuff in their respective sports, but they are also profound thinkers, which I think is really a testament to what we produce in the Ville. And a lot of folks have discredited the city, has discredited our community, but you know, we're blessed to be in the positions that we're in and to have the skill sets that we have. And I'm so thankful for y'all taking some time out of your Friday to sit in and chop it up and share some really powerful stuff. The dope thing about recording these, my goal is to kind of walk back through each one of them and to gather the ideas that have been discussed. We don't only want to be in the position to have these conversations, but we also want to be in the position to implement the information that's been discussed. Emmanuel, my church has been fortunate enough to build relationships with different entities in the community to help get that work done. And so we're gonna do our part, and y'all have contributed greatly to what I think we're gonna be able to do in Thomasville. So thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Keep it up, man.
Nice.
Appreciate y'all for sure, and we will we'll look forward to more conversation and more power to y'all and y'all's specific areas of influence. Those students or folks that y'all are around are fortunate to have y'all for their leaders. So thanks again, all of y'all for tuning in to our town hall. And be looking for our next installment next Sunday. It's going to be really, really powerful. We got some dynamic panelists that are going to be joining us to talk more. So continue to enjoy, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Peace out.
Shouts out to the Ville. Ville strong, baby. Ville for life.